depending upon the time that you may catch this one. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is your host of Austin Off Script, otherwise known in these Clubhouse streets and in the YouTube algorithm and the Instagram catechism as Dr. Julio. And remember, folks, it's Austin Julio Broughton. The Dr. Julio thing is just a nickname, folks. Relax. The PhD is on the way, earned or otherwise. And if Kevin Samuels can call himself the Godfather, I can call myself the Doctor. You dig? Because I'm out here doctoring up the falseness, the falsehoods. You dig what I'm saying? I'm bringing truth to those that are blind, sight to those that are blind, liberty to them that are in captivity from the cap. I'm setting it free those that are caught in captivity because of the cap. You dig what I'm saying? This afternoon, this morning, this evening, whenever you catch this, I have a surprise and a treat and a gift. And just something fun. Lynn Toler, the Honorable Lynn Toler from Divorce Court, joined me for an interview on Clubhouse, and folks, we had a hell of a time. We had a great conversation. We talked about the black family, the structure of the black family, and we also discussed what it means to be a man. We discussed this, right? What it meant to be a good man, what it meant to be a good husband, and we had a great conversation. So as you listen to this, I want all of you to like the video, comment on it, tell me what you thought, and subscribe to the channel. Lynn Toler is one of the wisest and most hilarious people that I know, and I ask all of you in this discussion, listen to what she says when we ask her what it means to be a man, when we ask her what is it about, what does it mean to have manhood, because this is the conversation that we need to have in our community that we don't have enough, right? Now, you all know, if you hear me on Clubhouse or you've heard me on Instagram or you even have heard me here, manhood is about one thing and one thing only in my review. That one thing is called character. And in today's society, we have lost that. I think a lot of our modern men have lost the sense of character. I think a lot of our women also have lost an understanding of what it means to be wives. A lot of us are ready to be married. They want to be married, but are unprepared to be wives. A lot of our men are ready to be husband or ready to be married, but are unprepared to be husbands. And this is something that we struggle with. And this is not just relative to the black community. This is relative to all of us. But in this conversation, again, I want you to listen to it. I want you to hone in on it. I want you to enjoy it. That's what this is about. I brought this content to you guys for enjoyment so that you guys could listen to it, learn from it, love it. And so as you listen to these clips, as you take this information and as you dissect it and do something with it, I want you to act upon it, right? So, as always, if you like the video, like it, comment on it, subscribe. Every subscription to the channel helps. When we hit 3,000 subscribers, we're going to give away $500 to one lucky subscriber. So, and to be entered in that, just make sure you're following me on Clubhouse, Instagram, and YouTube. Drop a comment down below and to let me know, what you think of this video as well as your Instagram handle. And people, again, this is what it's all about. This is what it's all about. Also, let me know who you'd like to see me interview in the future. Of course, I know somebody in the comments is going to say, when's the Kevin Samuels talk coming? I mean, it's in the works, all right? But we're not dealing with that right now. Look forward to hearing and reading you guys' comments. I'm going to interact with you guys on YouTube more, just as much. And remember to tune in on Clubhouse from 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Through the week. And you'll see me, you'll hear me, you'll experience me in either the New Black Narrative, which is the first club I ever started on Clubhouse, or Austin Off Script. And remember, we are about good conversation, good fun, but bring the facts, folks, not the feelings or the fiction. Let's talk about it. Y'all have yourselves a good one. This is Dr. Julio, Austin Julio Broughton, and we out. So, welcome everybody to the New Black Narrative. This is not in an off-script room. This is Dr. Julio. And remember, it's just a nickname, folks. Relax. And Honorable Judge Lynn Toler, the interview. I really just wanted to have a conversation with Judge Lynn because she came in my room one day and we were chopping it up. We were having just a very, very fun dialogue about relationships, about just the black family structure and just a lot of things. So Judge Lynn, for those people that don't know you that are going to come into this room, if you would, just tell us what you do, who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
First of all, I'm old and don't know how to work this thing. That's the first thing that you need to know. I've always considered myself an accidental overachiever. I went to college to be a physician. Was too lazy to do all the work. Went to law school so my parents wouldn't kill me. Became a lawyer. Was a lawyer for 9 years. Married a guy with 4 kids. Yes, I know. And I had one more, and I said, I can't stay home with all of this. I became a judge. And then one day somebody called me while I was sitting on the bench and said, this is Fox TV. Would you like to be on TV? I said, absolutely not. 13 years later, I was still doing it.
What made you not want to be on television? What was the initial reason he was like, this ain't for me? Because if Fox News was to call me and say, Austin, you trying to come on? I'm jumping on it. What was the pushback that you had internally?
Well, I had just won re-election. My first election, I won by 6 votes. And I beat a guy that had been a lawyer in my city for 12 years longer than I had been alive. And it was really an extraordinary feat. And then when they offered me a TV, I had just won re-election. I won re-election by 80% of the vote. And so I really thought this is where I'm supposed to be. TV calls and says, yeah, we'll guarantee you 13 weeks of work. And I had just gotten elected for a 6-year term. So to me, it didn't make sense. But my husband and I, we sat down, we did a very nice golden parachute should the show not work. And the show didn't work. It was called Power of Attorney. So they ended up paying me for 5 years, my judicial term, to stay at home with my kids.
Jesus, amen to that. Amen to that. So, what in your time on the bench, what are some of the lessons that you learned about relationships and about people, especially because we're going to get to the divorce court because there's some clips that I want to play from some of your highlights to ask you about those. But in what you've experienced, just in that field, have you learned anything about us as a people, or just about marriage in general, in terms of what causes it to fail, what causes it to succeed, anything of that nature?
I think when people go into marriage with these preconceived notions about what it is, and I love this person, and this is what I think marriage is based upon what they've seen or what they've been through or what they know or what they've watched on TV, and then they get married without sitting down and have a conversation with that other person. Every marriage is unique as the 2 people that are in it. The marriage that is successful for me would probably not work for a lot of other people. So you can't go in with the preconceived, I love this guy and he loves me, and this is how marriage is supposed to be. He has this one idea, she has another idea, and then, or you have adopt the marriage systems or customs of the people around you without ever examining who you are as individuals and how that marriage needs to be to accommodate the 2 of you. So you go in there handcuffed because, 2 people getting along for 35, 40 years is a difficult thing to pull off.
It is quite difficult. My mother and father have been married it'll be 31 years this year. What in your opinion is the key to success? If there is a key, or if there's a couple keys, what is some of the best advice you could give people like myself that want to get married, and those of us that in the audience and on the stage that may be married? What advice could you give us that would allow you to have a successful marriage?
The first thing I would say is learn how to have a conversation. I think most people, when they get home, they have certain manners in church. They have certain manners with their boss. When you get home, you say and do anything you want to because you're home. But that's the place where you should be most careful about what you say. Doesn't mean that you can't say whatever you want, but you have to remember that you're trying to create an atmosphere and a particular type of safe spot for everybody concerned. So you can't just emote without understanding. You have to convey information, not just frustration. And often when we're at home, we just expound on how we feel. I feel this without thinking it through what we need to talk about to have a conversation that is meaningful, informational, and resolves the situations that you have. And I think, people aren't consciously married. They get married and they kind of see what happens. If you're consciously married, our marriage has changed significantly. We've been together 34 years, I think, married 32, something like that. And there have been sections of our marriage that have been horrendous. And there are sections that have been just heavenly. And there's some that just tool around. But you have to be able to talk about what kind of road you happen to be on at that particular time, so you can navigate it in a way that you don't fall into a ditch.
I heard that. It's a lot of. It seemed like though in our generation, the concept of marriage or the idea of marriage has fallen off. We're not getting married at the same rate as we used to. Would you just attribute that to a failure in just communication, or is it just the fact that our entire generation has shifted from traditionalist values in a lot of ways?
I think everything has shifted, and you can watch the shift of it happen. I mean, I was born in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I've watched it over a long period of time. When we decoupled baby having and marriage, which we did in the 70s. Well, y'all weren't there, but I was there. And that started it. When you detach having babies from being married, then being married is not as necessary for a lot of guys. Women probably still want to get married, and men too. But once you decouple that and have sex is free like that. I'm not saying it was good. I'm not saying it was bad. But when you take those things away from one another, it has repercussions on what people do. And I think that in a society where we now have a lot of instant gratification, all of these social medias and stuff and Tinders, you can meet a million different people. I don't know if it's a good meeting or not, but you can
What
meet
you
them
know about Tinder, Judge? What you know about Tinder? Wait a minute now.
Just what I heard, honey. I don't know nothing else. Somebody done told me about Tinder and Bumble.
It's a lot of them. It's Tinder, Bumble.
It's a lot of, yeah, you know what I mean? I had to meet my guy, at in person at a game. So I just think everything has changed so drastically, legally and emotionally and socially and technologically, that it just is not the only game in town anymore. You can do okay. You can do a lot of the things that you couldn't do before without it.
So to that point, to the social, because that's what Tinder is. It's kind of the new social media dating app, right? So let me get your opinion as someone that has been married for a while. You've seen the game from the beginning to the current state. How big of an impact do you believe social media has on our relationships and our marriages today?
Extraordinary. I mean, as I was on divorce court for 13 years, and in the beginning we would talk about MySpace a little bit and a little bit of Facebook, and then by the end, social media was defining a lot of their issues. They make a habit of liking this girl's thing or not liking that guy's thing or whatever you do, and then you run your relationship as a postable entity. So in other words, I've done some things in marriage I would not like people to know about. I've taken some L's that I'd not like to share, and I've done some idiot things, as has my husband. But now that we post everything that we do, the entire trajectory of our relationships are online. It sometimes determines what you do. You won't do anything that makes you look bad. You won't do anything that makes you embarrassed. People would come and I look stupid. I look foolish. And there's a certain pieces and parts of my marriage I would never post, and I probably wouldn't have done had I been one of these people looking for not looking for approval, but just, posting, oh, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm saying, because it changes how you respond in real time if you're posting it online. And then you used to, back in the day, have to leave the room to cheat. You do not anymore. So it's so available. It's so easy. It's almost impossible to get away from it. I mean, guys send me all kinds of junk. I'm old and I'm married, and they still sending it. So, it's just too easy to do the wrong thing. So that's happened to a lot of us.
More money, more problems. Clearly, more fame, more problems. So CJ is I don't know if CJ is available. CJ had a clip she wanted us to play, but Latoya, I wanted to turn it over now to Dr. Latoya if she's there with us. I don't want to take up all of the questions. Are you there, Latoya?
Yeah, I have a
question. So, just segueing into social media, Judge Toler, how do you think that social media has actually helped, or do you think it has helped or hindered relationships? I know a lot of times, since, like you said, since it has progressed, you can't really cheat in private. A lot of things are put out on social media. So, do you think that social media has actually hindered or helped relationships?
I think it's hindered relationships because you'll post about what's going on in your relationships and people will comment. And then if enough people comment about certain things, it's going to impact how you deal with things. You're going to post, some people, weaponize posting. I'm going to take your pictures off. I'm going to delete you. I mean, it turns you almost into it's almost a high school type atmosphere on Facebook and Instagram with people calling people out, people talking about relationships they ain't in, don't know nothing about, and everybody is stripping everybody else down and picking it apart. So your relationship has to fight through a lot of other, landmines than we used to have back in the day when the only people knew about what was going on was you, your man, and maybe your mama.
But see, that's it though. She ain't lying. Is it fair to say then that the more people you get involved in your relationship, the more likely it is to fail because you have different opinions in and out of your mind?
Yeah, if you don't watch the people that you're talking to, because you're talking to, everybody always tells, why don't you leave him? Why don't you leave him? Why doesn't Cardi B leave so-and-so and so-and-so? It's easy to tell somebody else to leave somebody else because you see the wrong that they did, but don't see all the right that they're doing and all the comfort it is in having them and all the things that went by. So you get a lot of commentary about what you ought to do, and really those people have no way of knowing what the real balance sheet is and the things that you are really weighing. So, and everybody has a comment. Nobody wants to look foolish. I've done some pretty foolish things, but nobody knows about them because I wasn't posting my life. And I just think it's, you just need to be very, very careful and circumspect about how you use that media, because it's not all, you invite commentary, unrelenting commentary on the most intimate, important relationship of your life. And that is bound to affect how you feel and how you move.
I always tell people, if you're in a relationship, go to other people that you know in a relationship for advice. Don't go to your single friends because the answer they give you is gonna be the same. Leave him because they want you to be in their circle still. CJ, you got something for us? Are you there? I don't know if CJ's there yet.
No, I am. Sorry.
Okay. Well, my thing has always been this. Now let's turn to some of your divorce court highlights because this was my favorite part. I was looking at this last night on YouTube where they caught some of your most funny moments, if you will, and this was published a year ago. It was one of these.
Let me get.
You know what I'm talking about.
Slapped me with a wad of money and left.
Your Honor.
Let me get your version of that.
Your Honor, so I wake up at 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
She wakes me up. She said, "Can I do a facial on you?"
No,
I said, "I ain't no."
Hang on.
I said, I don't need no facial.
Are you that insecure? I mean, is your manhood that delicate? You got pigtails on. What? Do you have a certain hue of women that you like? You know what I'm saying? A certain
What, my type or something?
Color.
You trying to say my type?
You got certain colors that you prefer?
Nah.
Yeah. No. I'm trying to talk to you here. I'm trying to educate you. I'm trying to help you live longer. You never ever go to some chicks about your problem with your woman. You don't do it. Number one, women are something. Every once in a while, they get a thing with her. When I heard you and bet that, you know.
They know that from her Facebook.
That very well may be, and that's a problem that she has. But what I'm telling you, can you co-sign on me, Joe?
Oh, yeah. Don't co-sign.
Don't do it.
And
Jared, I gotta stop it right there. How do you deal with some of these people that be coming in your courtroom?
You have to enjoy humanity in all its shapes, sizes, forms, depth, and breadth. You really do, and you have to I'm easily amused, and
I can tell.
I find them entertaining. I find them funny, and I always try to find, even though they're kind of crazy, I try to do a rational, do a dignity parachute at the end. Say something that will not only relate to them, but relate to the people that are in the audience that might get something out of it.
How hard is it adjusting to that type of life? Because I know because I used to watch you all the time. I mean, I was watching Divorce Court even when it was Judge Maybelline on there. I always thought y'all had to have some type of, y'all were charismatic, both of y'all, but you even more so because you had a way of relating to people. But being in the public eye like that, how drastic of a change does that make in your life, or did that make, I should say, because you're still there. So how big of a change does that make in your life when you first got it going and to now your current state?
Almost none at all. I mean, I got to stay home a lot with my kids, and one of them I had to struggle with for a few years there. So it was good to have enough money and enough time to fight that fight and get him on the other side, which he is now. Woo! And I haven't changed. I bought the guy that lives next door to me is a contractor. He goes out in his truck every day. I'm hood adjacent. I don't live in a big, huge house, and it didn't change my lifestyle at all.
So, oops, I'm sitting there talking. My mic was unmuted. And so when it comes down to it, is it safe to say that money or fame, or at least in your opinion, I would want your opinion on this. Is it safe to say money and fame doesn't change you; it just reveals who you truly are, or maintains who you truly are? Is that something you would agree with, or what would be your thoughts on something like that?
I'm not really sure. For some it does and some it doesn't. I remember when I first took the job, and my mother was just horrified that I was going to be on television. She said, "I cannot believe I spent all that money sending you to Harvard, and this is what you choose to do with your life." And as a matter of fact, I was so scared to tell her. I got the job. I had my sister call her and tell her because I couldn't do it. I was a grown woman and everything. Used to put people in jail, but I was still scared to tell her. But what was the question? I just got to talking.
No, just how big of an impact did TV have on changing your life? That was the question, but that's a good response there. I mean, it don't matter how big we get, we still scared of our mama.
No, absolutely. And then my mother told me, she says, I don't think I need to tell you this, but I'm gonna tell you this anyway. She says, you never know how it's going to feel to be in a position like that. Don't become a jerk. She told me, she says, just don't do it. And I remember when I first got on Divorce Court, they were taking bets, because I was nice and real friendly to people, and they were taking bets about how long it would last before I would get that snooty attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody who bet against me lost, because I was nice till the end of it. Because and except for that last year when we were fighting all the time, and that's when I knew it was time to go.
And so what? Oh, so you said that you knew it was time to go. So there was a point where you was like, all right, it's time to walk away from this. Just period. You did reach that point at some.
It got ugly after Atlanta. We used to tape in LA with a regular, bench. Then they sent it to Atlanta. They put me in that spaceship. And how are you going to take, the robe is so ugly and dumb. But now that I'm 61 and really want to cover my huge boobs and belly, they take me out of the robe, put me in a suit. And I didn't like it. It looks like a spaceship. And as we were going along, they kept hiring new EPs to make the show louder and more ridiculous. They got to Roland Ray. They got to everybody just screaming. And, I fought with the EP all the time about, I can't have this. I don't want this. And it didn't work out. It was a fight every day.
Oh my goodness! It's boy, Atlanta. We got our own problems. As an Atlanta native, let me tell you, we got our own problems. But I think
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So just I'm pretty sure you kind of been in a lot of rooms lately, kind of listening to our quote unquote young and the more seasoned people. So there's a lot of single people on the app, and one thing as a married one I like to do when warranted or when asked is to give advice as far as things to look for prior to marriage. I think premarital counseling is very important. What are your thoughts, and what are some advice that you can give to single people?
From being on this app, the first advice I would give is stop making the lists. It just appears that everybody has these long must-have lists about what they need in somebody. My husband didn't hit any of the stuff on my list other than the over 6 feet part, because I'm in a real short family. He had 4 kids. He was divorced. He was not in my game plan, but marry somebody who gets you, who understands you where you're weak and doesn't have, and is able to not only deal with it, but refuse to exploit it and always shore it up when you can. And we did go to marriage counseling before we got married, and we took tests about, how able we were to adjust to the institution of marriage, not each other, but the institution of marriage. And it was found if you had a 10 on this test, you were highly, highly marriageable. And my husband got a 4 and I got a 1.7, which basically meant I should have been living in a cave with a dog and never come out, because marriage was not for me. But we had to know these things, that I was not really well adjusted for marriage. My personality didn't do marriage well, but I had to figure out how to get it done.
I can't imagine somebody being rated a 1 in terms of marriageability, or a 4. I couldn't imagine that. But so you said something that really piqued my interest, especially with the talks today of because everybody got a platform today of marrying a certain type. Everybody has a list. So what is it about today's society that you think gives us this ability or this desire to set these list of requirements? What is it that changed in us? If you see anything, or if you can speak to it at all, what makes us think, in your worldview, what gives our generation the right to think we can do this, to set these lists and set these standards?
I think we're getting pulled into that because of social media. On social media, you have these aphorisms and everybody's posting, this is a simp and this is an alpha. And then we start adopting those markers and those things, and you learn one person about something. I remember when I told somebody who I married, oh, that you were a pick-me. And so we've gotten all of these ideas about who people are and what people are and what kind of person they are, and we want to put labels on them, and it's just, we're talking about it a lot too. We're talking about, this is what I gotta have, this is what I gotta have, this is what I gotta have, this is what I gotta have. I'm not gonna settle. You have to settle, because whoever's marrying you is settling for you, and you ain't perfect. So
wait a minute. Say that again. Say that again for the people in the back. I just wrote that down myself. Say that one more time.
You have to settle, because whoever you're marrying is settling for you, because there's a lot wrong with you. There's a lot wrong with all of us. My husband settled for me with all the weird that I brought to the table, and I settled for him with all the difficulties brought to the table. But if you have all of these lists, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. I was talking on a site the other day. I have a room called Dear Sonali where I talk to young women about issues on Sundays, and this one lady was talking about the availability of good dudes, and I said, well, what do you consider a good dude? And she had all of these lists, and I said, okay, so what if I got you a dude at all of that, but he's 5'6"? She said, nope. And I was like, okay, I'll tell my son you wouldn't be interested. Now, he's got his own house, his own business. He works. And he's got me for a mother. But you say because he's 5'6", he's undateable. My pops was 5'2". He authored all of the success in my family. So I just think you just have to be a little less, we're so image obsessed these days. I mean, I think in a year there's going to be a rash of divorces from all of these people who are doing these magnificent proposals, because they're, when their decisions made by how much.
Go on now, talk to it.
But anyway, I just think we get caught up in the image of things, and then we decide that we get caught up in our rhetoric of not settling, and I deserve this, and I deserve that, and I deserve the other thing, and most people deserve better than you.
What?
Because no, seriously,
that's real though. That's real talk.
Most people deserve better than me. I can't cook. I'm a terrible cleaner. The house is always in chaos unless he's home. I can't be alone without him. If he's out of town, one of my sons has to babysit me. There's a lot wrong with him, and he's got to put up with it.
Wow, you said a mouthful. And thank you for your transparency. A lot of women, to hear a woman say, "Look, I can't cook. I don't like to clean that much, but my husband still deals with me." A lot of women and society tells you that you have to be these things in order to get a man. Back in the day, and I'll tell a little bit on myself, I used to watch you as I worked. While I was at work, I used to love watching divorce court, right? A lot of things, and one of the common kind of underlining things I would see in a lot of the shows that I used to watch was the lack of communication. Can you speak to that in regard to marriages?
Yeah, people don't know how to talk to each other. And I spoke about this briefly a little bit earlier, that everybody's at home and you're emoting at full volume because you believe that's the place to do it. Our marriage, you can tell how much my marriage improved and how much we learned about communication by the length of our arguments. Now, like, our arguments or disagreements are about 5 minutes. Nobody raises their voice, and there's a lot of pauses. It's someone says something, the other person thinks about it, and they said, "Okay, this is what you're telling me." "Yeah, it is." "What's your concern about that?" "Here it is." We've taken the emotion out of it, and we're dealing with the issue and not each other. And tone, timing, and topic. A lot of people want to fuss and fight when the injury first occurred, when they first get upset. Never talk about it when you first get upset, unless he's driving off a cliff and you got to tell him, "Hey, take a right, we about to die." But you have to make sure you know what you're upset about, why you're upset, what you want from the other person, and then you have to broach the conversation at a time in which you can have their mind working for you. I never tell my husband something, I always tell him the bad stuff after he's had a decent time, and that kind of thing. So you have to, I think, I'm consciously married. I think all the time, I got to tell him something. I got to get him to do this, and I don't want to have an argument. What do I do? Instead of just carpet bombing him with what I need or what I want, which I used to do early in our marriage, and it was not a good look.
So, Judge Toler, I want to take this opportunity and talk about something that I saw on YouTube. It was you speaking on kind of the decline of manhood, and I'm gonna load the clip up here on my laptop because I want you to speak to this. I'm gonna let the clip play, and then kind of go from there because I want this. I really want people to hear this.
Know when it happened. I don't know who caused it. All I know is that at some point in time, the definition of manhood shifted way to the left and down. It is no longer what it was when my father was young or alive. It is no longer what it was when my husband said, "Lynn, will you marry me?" Because how they define manhood is, have I gone out into the world and done my best to bring money into my house? Have I got stability and love? Have I built a home? Do I have a place where a woman can come and say, I feel safe, where I have children that I can raise who will have food in their bellies, clothes on their backs? If they need something, I'm the brother to bring it to you. That's what they've defined as manhood. Now it seems that is no longer the case. It has nothing to do with your ability to provide or what you become in your profession or what you can bring home or who you can bring up and raise up and care for and defend and love. It has all to do with how nasty you can be with how many different women, how many corners you can hang on, how many babies you can bring into the world. You don't have to be able to support them. You don't have to love them. You don't have to worry about where they go to school or how they're going to live. You don't have to deal with whatever they have to deal with in order to grow up and be somebody. You just were able to make them. And that's it. And that's how you define manhood. I don't know when that happened. I know you didn't do it personally, Mr. Ware. I understand that there is a culture out there somewhere that has taken the definition of manhood, chopped it all up, diced it in small pieces, and thrown it in the sewer somewhere. But that's where it is, and that's where you are.
Now that was probably one of the most scathing indictments of a man I've ever seen done on television, but not a single word in there was false. So Judge Lynn, I have to ask, where did that analysis come from? Was it something you was just fed up with what he was saying that day? Give us the context around that beautiful reading
my
of
screed and harangue. Yeah, here's what it was. It's the people that I got on divorce court that came from what I call disassembled communities, where these guys were running the streets and they, got a chick and they not taking care of her, but they're in their house. They wanted to get out of our mom's house and into her house and all that kind of stuff. And I was a municipal judge, which is a judge for, where I would see assault, domestic violence, gang banging stuff, no rapes and murders. And I was in a community that was hood adjacent. And what I was seeing was that divergence of all the young men, 18, 19, 20. And I wrote an article about it called Losing 19. And they were listening to the party down the street, and the girls were going to school and the guys were kind of getting lost on that street thing because it was so compelling. And of course, this is an indictment of all men, but it was an indictment of guys in disassembled communities, which are the guys that you end up seeing in court and in divorce court all the time, that felt like, I can have a whole bunch of women, babies with different women. And that, one kid came to me in municipal court and said, I said, well, do you have any kids? Because I was trying to, when I find somebody, I don't want to make it so that their household don't work right. So I said, well, what are you making? What do you got? So I got trying to discern what to do. And he said, he says, I got 2 8-year-olds and 2 9-year-olds. And I said, oh, you make twins? He said, nah, never. So it's like he was proud of the fact that he had 4 different babies' mamas and he was like 19 and didn't have a job.
Jesus.
So those are the people that I was inundated with. And Mr. Ware that day happened to be one of them. And that was the socioeconomic strata that I was pointing to that caused me such distress.
Well, you read that brother for clean filth. I bet you changed his life. I'm quite certain. But we're gonna take a couple questions from the audience. If you want to come up, you're more than welcome to raise your hand. However, as I always do in every room that I say, if you're coming on my stage, in this case, make sure you're a member of the New Black Narrative, and make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube, Instagram, or follow me on Instagram and follow me on Clubhouse, and raise your hand. And you're more than welcome to come on the stage. And Judge Lynn, I have to say, first of all, thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing this. You were one of my personal TV heroes when I was younger, when I was a kid watching the show. This has been like a dream come true for me, whether you realize it or not. It means the world to me that you're here this morning or this afternoon in my time. And I mean, I'm very excited.
Thanks for having me. You've been very sweet and you were nice because I was a lot of work to get here, so I appreciate it.
Hey, listen, I don't care. I don't care what hoops I'd had to jump through, man. You was doing, like I said, you was doing me a favor. There's actually something I would like to speak to you about on the back end as well. I'm gonna send you a message in the back channel. Who is anyone wants to? Is it open? Okay, raise the hand feature is on.
Yep. I have it open, but I want to read an excerpt from that article that Judge Lynn actually mentioned that I thought was profound, losing 19. And it says, living well in a world that does not always see you clearly is a difficult thing to do. My boys must be able to ignore those who ridicule their efforts to do well in school while remaining strong even among those who find that strength intimidating. Tough lessons, these, but they must learn them if they are going to do 19 the right way. I don't want them standing before some judge who may see them as a statistic. If they mess around and get before the wrong guy, then where will they be? Jail, of course, is the answer to that question. The very same place that I wound up sending 19 today. Frustrated because I can't fix the world, and 19 won't let me help him live better in it. I shake my head, but must move on. I have 30 more cases to hear. And I thought that was so profound because a lot of times, especially being in the position that Judge Lynn Toler is in, there's so many people that I'm pretty sure she wants to help. But of course, you got some that don't want to listen. And like she said, I got 30 more cases to hear. So Judge Lynn, how do you actually, how do you separate yourself from that, wanting to save people, but you have a heavy load case? Where do you see that the community can come in and help with that?
Well, a couple of things happened. One, I figured out that as a judge, I really didn't have much power. I mean, it felt powerful for a minute and a half, but then when you get person after person and dude after dude and woman after woman up there whose circumstance is such that she's 18, she's got 3 kids, no high school diploma, and yes, she was stealing from the grocery store. What is the justice system going to do to alleviate that problem? She's going to be hungry next week too. What is putting her in jail the answer? So what I did was I got off the bench. I was still on the bench, and I started mentoring young girls in a breakout school for troubled kids. And I did that for 10 years, even after I was off the bench. And I would pick like 7 girls. I tried to do it with like and I would stay with them for a whole year. I would ask them about their grades. They knew I would keep up with what they were doing. I would, buy them flowers. I would run around and just hug them because they didn't get much of that. And I felt my job was to keep them out of court because there wasn't anything I could do them once they were in court. Then I started a program for young men, Cleveland Heights Intensive Probation. And I had a dude run it, and he just wasn't good at it, so it didn't do as well as the women's program, and I didn't feel like I could lead these guys, and they needed a male figure to do that. So, but I believed in the social side of it, but I was a law and order girl on the bench, but I just wanted to make sure that those who needed assistance got assistance, and those people who were in court, not a function of their criminality, but as a function of their social standing or status or economics or rearing, got the assistance that they needed. So that's how I realized that I was going to have a very low success rate on the bench, but I had a higher success rate off the bench, and I was extraordinarily, I would send guys to jail with a book. I said, you finish this book, you write your probation conditions for me, I'll let you out as soon as you do that. And we have to talk about the probation commissions and what we're going to do, because I wanted to change their trajectory. Putting them in the system over and over and over again was a fool's errand. So, and I took the victories that I had, not a lot, but every once in a while, I was at the grocery store once, and I was buying a cupcake. So I knew I'd have a chocolate cupcake. I always buy a chocolate cupcake when I'm having a rough day. And this lady came up, woman walked up to me. She had like a 3-year-old, and she says, "Hi, Judge." I said, "I know you don't remember me, but when she was just a baby, my boyfriend and I were in there on domestic violence charges. He was doing things to me, and you talked to us forever." And he goes, "Things aren't perfect, but they're 80% better. And I'm glad that you did that." And I also pointed them into direction of some therapy and stuff because they were young and they looked like they could work it out. And she thanked me for that. So I live for those things, and I sucked the rest of it up.
Wow. So you was authentically out there trying to change people's lives, and you did it. You actually did it. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Jalisa, I see you on stage. Erica, Track D, what's going on, y'all? Thank y'all for coming up. Jalisa, go ahead.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good morning. Good afternoon. I had a question. Hi, Judge. I'm pursuing law school. I actually take my LSAT next Saturday. What advice would you give somebody pursuing their career? Because eventually I want to be a judge as well.
Well, let's see. I ain't gonna lie, I was the world's worst law student. I was the world's worst student. I went to college. I never went to class. Went to law school, never went to class. I didn't study for my LSAT. I was just a lazy bum. So I don't know. My best advice is don't do anything I did. But get comfortable reading. Read as much as you can, as much difficult stuff as you can, because you have to do so much reading. You should not only have a facility for it, but it should be easy and breezy. And that's just a thing. And I'd go to class, and I'd make sure I would go and see if I could go into, I don't know, just make sure you read a lot and go to class. That's all I got. I was the worst student.
Not you didn't go to class, Judge Toler.
Yeah, I'm interested on how she passed law school without going to class.
I'm starting to think, Judge Lynn, you and me got more similarities than I realized. Because let me tell you something. The only reason I'm in college is because I'm competitive with my twin sister. Because she was the better student. Both my sisters was the better student than I was. But as for me, no, man, not necessarily. I tried to slick talk my way through class, really, but it worked. They got me this far.
Yeah, I partied my first year. I ain't gonna lie.
See, I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't gonna hold you. Erica, good morning, good afternoon. How you feeling? What's going on with you?
Doing well. It was so great to hear you talk, Judge. As somebody who, on the other end of being married 25 years, I was wondering, I have adult children. I didn't hear how old you said your children were. I have 4 sons. And we are going through the process of helping them find wives and help them date. How do you, or like I said, I don't know how your sons are. How have you been with your children in the dating process as they have tried to maneuver through adulthood, if that question makes sense?
Yeah, it's interesting. Not at all, because they make a point of not letting me know who they're dating, what their names are. I don't, it'll be a year. If they stay with a woman for a year, then I'll see them. But the oldest one is 50. He's been married forever. They get a woman. The Mumfords, my guys, get a woman that they like, and they get really stable, just hardcore, and they love dark-skinned women. And they just get the best one, and they stick with them. The oldest has been married forever. Number 2 is not married. But number 3 has been with his lady since he was 14 and she was 15. And my 2 youngest are 29 and 26. And they both date, but they don't tell me nothing.
That's because mama always be trying to stick their nose in business. They ain't got nothing to do with it. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's true. That's exactly what they're trying to avoid. And I would get in it too if they would let me.
I know you would. I got a mama. Trust me, I know. What you say, man?
Because we need to vet these ladies, okay? Period. Judge Toler, I'm actually just shocked. I have to go back that she said she had a 50-year-old. Look at this woman, okay? I just have to go back there. You do not look like you have a 50-year-old. Not at all.
Well, now that's one of the ones I inherited. I have to be sure about that. My oldest that I did personally is 29, and I had him when I was 32, and then I had my baby when I was 35, and he's 36 now.
Wow. Lord have mercy. This is black excellence right here. I don't give a listen. This is black legendariness. That's a new word I just crafted. Black legendariness.
I need all the skin regimens. That's all
I need the regiment. Look, she got better skin than me. On God, I'm telling you. So, Track D, my brother, what's going on?
How you guys doing? How you doing, Judge, today? How you doing, Julio?
Fine, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I actually had a question about, just the state of the black community. I always struggle with how to give other people hope, and what I kind of see, and especially talking on this app, is that I feel like there's an inferiority complex with us that we have, and that's maybe why we don't have hope, because I'm the type of person, I believe other people's opinion of me is none of my business. So if a white person doesn't like me or thinks I'm inferior, I'm like, that's irrelevant to me. But I struggle with, how do I get that across to other people that you're not inferior, because other people look at you a certain way, so they can get to hope and understand that they can do whatever they want to do. So I guess my question is, do you think that, maybe the inferiority that black community has about ourselves sometimes is why we don't have hope and we kind of just give up?
I think we do have hope, and I think there are a lot of us doing a lot of things out there, but I do agree with you that we do have an inferiority complex. For years our hair was simply incorrect, and we're just now embracing our own natural hair, and we seem really to need the names of Gucci and Louis Vuitton, that consumerism. I was watching a clip from 1960 something where they were teaching salespeople how to sell to the Negro, and it says, always sell them the most expensive thing you have, because that's what they need to make themselves feel better. And so I think we do have some that sense of inferiority where we compare ourselves and have to I don't know, do certain things in order to make ourselves feel good about it. But I was raised in such a unique circumstance, and it was so not bizarre, but it was so separated and segregated that I never was able to even consider anybody else's feelings about me. So it was like I never belonged in any room I was in anyway, and I always have been grateful for that, because now any room I go into, even if nobody else thinks I have any business there, I don't even notice, because I just go.
Thank you for that. And I just wanted to add to it. I'm kind of careful when I talk about some of these things, because I grew up as a military brat. So my worldview and just growing up around everybody is it's so different. So sometimes I'm always trying to figure out, where maybe people who didn't grow up like me, their experience just might have led them somewhere different than mine.
Oh, I think that's very true. I think that's very, very true. The black experience is not a monolithic one. We have, strata and socioeconomic differences and personality differences, where you were born, city. It's extraordinarily varied and diverse, and it's hard to say with any specificity what one thing will assist us in doing.
Thank you.
Amen to that. Dewan, my brother, what's going on? Good to see you. How you doing, Dr. Amy? Good to see both of y'all.
Hi. Likewise, bro. Great conversation. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Always. Y'all got any questions for Judge Lynn? We got about 10 more minutes.
I would just say I'm just appreciating the conversation and taking a lot of notes, and this has been very insightful. One question I guess I would ask given the opportunity to ask it, and I appreciate it. Thank you for being here, Judge Lynn. Do you think that I know you just mentioned kind of there's not a monolithic solution to some of our issues, but do you think as a collective that we can, make some strides in restoring the community aspect of the Black neighborhood going forward with what we're talking about, the conversations that we're having now through these mediums of social media? Seems like this is the interest of the collective. Do you think that we're too far removed, given some of the factors and the issues that we've been discussing today, with even the shift in what masculinity is, what manhood is, gender reversal of roles? Do you think it's too far removed, or should we just kind of focus on doing what we can in our individual lives and hope for the best?
I think it's you have to keep coming on every level. I mean, you have to keep coming. The best way to ensure familial generational wealth is to create it yourself. But while you're doing that, you can also do those things that you can to help other people. Like I was doing that mentoring thing. So I'm always been strong on, as my father was, you make money, you make your position, you make you well known. I don't care if I was the first Black woman in the first law firm that I went to. It had about 200 lawyers. They didn't even have a Black secretary. They had 4 brothers, and then there was me. And the second law firm I went to, I was the first Black woman there, and I never even noticed. And until a second Black woman comes, oh, look at this! This is fun. But I just think it's effort on every level. And but can I solve Baltimore, Chicago? Nope. I don't have a clue what to do. Just don't have a clue.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you so much.
All right, Dr. Amy, you gonna close us out?
Yeah. As I was listening to the conversation, I guess the question I would ask Judge Lynn is, if you could give a first step or next action to help Black and brown women and men repair the damage that seems to be done as it relates to relationships and friendship, what would you say would be a great place to start so that we could start healing those relationships and stop, I guess, the hatred that we have for each other as men and women of the Black and brown descent?
I say we stop, and I know this is not going to happen, but when you create rooms, what we're divesting and all Black, this, that, and the other kind of thing, when we do that and those conversations become normalized, and then they become, Black women ain't nothing, Black men ain't nothing, and then they become, they're clickbait. It's what we want to watch, and that fight, we continue to exacerbate that, will never get any better. I just think that it's we have to individually focus upon who we are as people and not what I'm not getting from you. You know what I mean? Just stop encouraging that piece, because it's not. It's you only got to find one. Just one chick.
Don't say that too loud to some of these polyamorous men. That'll don't say that too loud now. But I want to kind of, we've had it up here for an hour, and we don't want to take up too much more of our time. Judge Lynn, what you said you have a room in a club that you are part of every Sunday. Tell us about that, baby.
It is called Dear Sonali. I wrote a book called Dear Sonali, Letters to the Daughter I Never Had. My mother was an extraordinary emotional manager. I was quite the lunatic kid, had my first nervous breakdown in the 4th grade. Mm-hmm. And the reason that I am not some lunatic sitting in a closet, rocking back and forth talking about it's not safe out there is because my mother was an extraordinary emotional manager. I wrote a book about her. And then I always wanted to have a daughter because my mother and I had such a great relationship, and I wanted to replicate that with a daughter of my own. But I married a man with 4 boys. I had 2 more boys with him. I figured he can't do girls. Why try again? And so I put all my advice about what I would give to a young daughter in that book, Dear Sonali. And Sonali was the name of my best friend in Cleveland. She was the second Black woman at this this first law firm that I went to. And so I wrote that book, and everybody had questions and wanted to talk about was in the book. So I set up a Clubhouse rooms, 8 p.m. Eastern time every Sunday. And it's where women come, and you ask me questions, and we talk about it, and we help each other about dating, love, life, you name it, taking care of parents. That's what we talk about.
Well, I'll definitely be sitting in the audience listening to that then this Sunday. And Judge Lynn, again, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for doing this, taking the time to do this. And if you are not already following Judge Lynn on this app, I would highly suggest that you do. Judge Lynn, all of myself and all of my moderators, of course, we're all following you already. We love what you do. And of course, you're always welcome in the New Black Narrative, my professional club, or you're always welcome in where you first met me, which is, of course, Austin Off Script, where I just tell it like it really is from my worldview. And I just appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. CJ, LaToya, Fantasia, anybody got any final thoughts before we let Judge Lynn leave us for the day?
Yes, I do. I'm finally at my meeting. Hi, Judge. I just wanted to commend you and also put a spotlight on what you just said. You're growing up with a quote unquote, I guess, mentally ill father, and breaking that stigma of mental health and realizing that, there were some things that you needed to address, and not being embarrassed or ashamed about that is amazing. I wish we could all break the stigma about mental health. And I say all that to say, you mentioned one of your books, and I'm on Amazon, and I'm about to buy My Mother's Rules, A Practical Guide to Becoming an Emotional Genius. And the reviews are amazing, and it's really resonating. So I'm definitely going to read it. I definitely recommend everybody else to go on Amazon and get it, because we all be a little bit emotional in here sometimes, and it's okay, but let's know, when to reel it back in. So that's all I had to say, and sorry I couldn't talk earlier.
Well, thank you so much to everybody. I enjoyed coming here. I'm always excited to do something like this because this is very new for me. Dr. J, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity and your patience, and maybe we'll do it again.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm gonna send you a message on the back channels, and I'm gonna order a copy of that book. Actually, I might order a copy of all your books. But this has been one of my best days on this app. So again, we want to thank Judge Lynn. We're gonna close it out, man. If you're not already, follow the New Black Narrative. Follow me. Follow Judge Lynn Toler. Follow CJ, LaToya, Fantasia. Everybody that resonates with you. But I wouldn't be who I am without these women. So I understand the importance of every last one of my black sisters, but especially these four or these three. And with that, we're gonna close the room out. Judge Lynn, thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
That's how you run a damn interview. Only in Austin Off Script, folks. Only in the New Black Narrative, a Dr. J production.